We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us, talking the issue of homelessness in Nashville this 1 week after the mayor and city council have set aside some $50 million to address housing, affordable housing in the city here, which we know is a very expensive place to live. April Calvin's with us. She's interim director of Metro Homeless Impact Division. Kimberly Bowden is with us as well, landlord engagement specialist. And we've got some phone calls coming in. I have a lot of questions for you. Let's take a few calls for people that waited through the break. If you have questions or comments about this money, how it's going to be spent or something like that, please join us. Our two guests are terrific and they can try to answer those questions. We'll go to Jimmy. Jimmy, good morning. Hi, Jimmy.
How are you doing today?
Good. What's on your mind, sir?
I got kind of a long little thing to go over here. First thing, this plan does not seem like it really does anything for the people camping out at the park or anything like that. Those people cannot afford an apartment and or anything else. Most of them are strung out on drugs and stuff like that. They're not going to, it's not going to help them at all. Temporary housing for them does not work in the long run. And then you've got the problem of landlords. Remember the apartment complex? We gave them $1 million to fix it up a while back. Been about a year or so ago. They were supposed to have Section 8 housing in there. As soon as they got the apartments fixed up, the Section 8 people suddenly got big bills sent to their house every month saying, y'all have to pay this over what Section 8's doing. So what did we do? We complained about it, but nothing was ever done. The Section 8 people got evicted, and that was it. The developer made money. The only one I see is going to make money off of this thing is people like our mayor and city council people that are developers, because they're looking at, we can get a quick landfall of money coming in from this right here, put people into the apartments, then evict them, then change them to luxury housing or something similar. That's all that I see is going to happen with this mayor's plan.
Thank you for your call, Jimmy. Listen, well, okay, there's going to be skeptics out there. And what he just said there, that's the last thing. That better not happen. Okay, what he just talked about, the landlords there, I mean, the ones that come in and say they're going to do this, and then they turn them into luxury, those landlords need to get their butts kicked. No, ain't happening. So, but it's happened before. He made some decent points there. So how do we make sure that this happens? And there's some teeth in it. If after they get going, they fall back, what are you going to do to them? I want to know what you're going to do to them if they don't keep their word and stick it out.
Very great question. You're right. That's a great question. The $25 million that's going to the affordable housing, they have to sign something that states that they're going to keep it affordable for 25 to 30 years with MDHA, and that's a loan process, so they also will be paying that back.
And if not, can we throw them in jail?
Well, I'm not.
No, it's probably not criminal, though it should be. These landlords annoy the heck out of me. So they're going to have to sign this, and they're going to have to abide by that.
Yes.
And if they don't, then I guess you can go after them to get the money back.
Well, yes, and that's through an RFP with MDHA. So we'll, MDHA, I'm sure they have great safe ways or fail-safes in place to assist with that. But I do want to talk back about the people in the park that he's referencing.
Brookmead?
Well, I'm not sure which park he's referencing,
okay.
But I will say that we haven't talked about the other $9 million that's going to provide some housing first support services. These services will be wraparound intensive case management ACT teams, which is a assertive community treatment teams. It's going to be a lot of wraparound resources to help them maintain the homes that they're in.
So physical and mental health care, addiction housing, case management, because he's right to some degree. If someone is, addicted, and they're going to need some assistance, or it's just not going to work.
And this is a housing first plan, but not housing only. The biggest key there would be the support services that go along with helping them to maintain the housing.
How do you think the support services will be set up? Are these going to be clinics? Are these going to be, how will that work?
Great question. What we're looking for, it's an RFP process as well, which there's agencies that will be able to put a bid in for doing this type of service, but this is out in the neighborhood.
So they'll have to go out there.
yes. The services are brought to their home, not relying on them to come into an agency.
So seeking them out, perhaps.
Yes.
That would include seeking them out then at the homeless encampments?
Yes, that's where it will begin.
Okay.
And they'll walk with them from the homeless encampments as they're housed into housing, and then work with them while they're in their permanent home.
Yeah, you know, as much publicity has been made about this over the past week or so, you know there's people out there that are probably homeless that aren't aware that this may be an opportunity out there for them. So that's where going out there, letting them know this, saying there's this help, would you like to do this?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let's go to Denise. Denise, good morning. Hi, Denise. Hello, Denise.
Hi, I'm trying to, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I have a few observations. One is that I'm a little concerned as to how effective this will be for those people who are the most, should I say, dysfunctional as a result of either having had mental illness previous to becoming homeless, and surely more mentally unbalanced since they've been out there. Because having dealt with mental illness myself, I know that it's very difficult for people to overcome it. And I'm concerned about the case management part of this plan. I think that's a good idea, and you need that. But I'm concerned that you're having people who probably have never had to deal with mental illness and homelessness to try to help these people. So that, to me, would be one of the biggest areas of failure. And if they fail in that area, they're going to fail in all other areas, because you're still going to have people in these different parks if you don't have the right type of professionals. And I'm thinking what would be a good idea is if they could use some of that money to outfit or contract with a mental health hospital for inpatients, because some of these people truly are going to need that kind. They're not going to, in other words, they're not going to be able to maintain an apartment. And, you know, landlords, if they say they set a fire or something, they're going to put them out. So I think they need to go back to the drawing board a little bit and perhaps contract with a mental health hospital inpatient, so that some of these people, including the ones that say, I'm not going to go, get them in there so they can, it may take them a year to come back to their senses. But that's going to be a real important part for this to work. So thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. And that's probably what she's addressing, one of the most difficult things. So dealing with, there's the mental illness, so there's drug addiction, sometimes both combined. Obviously, that's got to be part of what this, $9 million on caseworkers and resources. What she talks about there is not new, though. That's the hardest thing to get past all of this. Even more difficult. You can have all the great housing that's affordable, but if you don't treat the mental illness on some of these individuals, and happens what she said, they go into a place and they set fire to it by whatever, game over.
Yeah. What we know is housing saves lives. Housing helps with mental health. Housing is Medicaid. Housing is Medicare, right? What we know is that providing the intensive services that go along with the housing, sometimes you'll see people look different, act different when they sleep inside 2 to 3 weeks later. You may not even recognize some of our displaced Nashville neighbors 2 to 3 weeks later. But we are partnering with mental health facilities, mental health case management. They will be the ones that's doing that wraparound support services, and they'll have that connection to the facilities on if they need inpatient versus outpatient.
Yeah, it's interesting you say inpatient. So there may be some that they're partnering with if they go out into the communities or go out into some of these locations where the homeless are living, that they find someone who wants to do this, but they may deem them not mentally, to the point where they can live alone or live in an apartment and function that way. So if they have someone like that who wants that, but isn't ready to do that, you think there'll be some inpatient treatment for them at some type of facility first to maybe get them to the point where they're stable to move into an apartment?
Yes, I think these funds will help leverage a lot of the other resources that we have readily available here in Nashville. So
because we know there's not a lot of mental health beds in town.
No.
So maybe this will help create more of them.
Well, I'm not going to speak to that. I'll just say it definitely will create much more mental health support services if that helps. Yeah.
You think landlords, again, I understand from a landlord's and the barriers point of view, you know, they're going to want to accommodate, especially if they get into these programs, but they're also going to be concerned with making sure that people living there are, you know, safe themselves and that they're not putting anyone else at risk and that they're not going to damage their property.
Right.
I'm trying to put myself in a landlord's shoes. I mean, I'm just wondering, you know, what is the incentive for a landlord to say, I'm going to set a few aside to get some of this incentive, whereas I could just say no. I'm just going to go ahead and make a bunch of luxury ones and charge up the nose.
Yeah.
Or why wouldn't they want to go for the big money?
So these set of funds or investment priorities, they will give people, the landlords, the help that they'll need once people are housed. The case management that would walk along with them. There will be peer-to-peer mentor. Also centralizing, having a central point of contact for someone or a landlord or a property manager to reach out to if the client is causing problems, or I shouldn't say causing problems, having concerns or having issues while in the home. So the landlord engagement department, there's the Low Barrier Housing Collective, there's a whole platform of social service providers that will walk with these participants and helping to keep, so they can maintain the homes that they're in.
Yeah, so they'll have that. Okay, so you're saying it's there. I'm just wondering, you know, why? And one answer would be, I'd like to think these landlords that are really building these big, you know, want to be good community stewards and figure this is the right thing to do.
Yes.
But, you know, how often does that get trumped by greed?
Well, I can't speak to that.
Oh, I can answer that for you. You know, you have to be careful what you say. Greed trumps it.
I think that we have some great landlords and property managers that are wanting to do the right thing.
Good, I hope so.
They probably absolutely love the support that comes along with it.
Yeah, so they should understand that it will be there. It's the right thing to do. They're not going to lose money. They're doing a good thing. In fact, they'll make money doing this.
Right.
They set some. All right, we'll take a break. We have more phone calls, and we'll get into more detail as well about just addressing some of the landlord and the importance of this too, of how really in many ways landlords are the key to some of this.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back after this. Like